For this episode, we're going to be talking about the aerodynamic upgrades I've done to my Nissan 350Z. This is the setup on the car I've had the most fun with. I've done a lot of research on this. I've done a lot of reading about different cars and what current time attack cars are running and what current race cars are running, and looking at what the OEMs are using to get lower coefficients of drag and more efficient downforce out of the car. My car does not have a lot of power, especially compared to some of the other cars on grid. So what I want to do is reduce as much drag as I possibly can, reduce as much lift as I possibly can, and then start adding downforce where necessary. Of course, there's always going to be some keyboard warrior in the comments that's telling me that I'm wrong. And while no, I do not have access to a wind tunnel and I don't have any quantifiable data showing that this works, I am operating on sound theory. And while no, it is not going to be as perfect as if it was tested in a wind tunnel, whenever I get the chance to get it tested or do some sort of computer modeling, I will, and I am looking into that now. But for now, this is my setup. I'm going to do a quick overview, just running through everything, just listing all of the parts, and then we're going to go take a look at each section of the car up close. At the front, we have a splitter with 4 inches of displacement off the front of the car all the way around, an air dam connecting the splitter to the front of the car. I've got the little spats in front of both the front wheels and the rear wheels to keep the tires out of the airflow. The front splitter has end plates that are removable, so I can put 3 different types of end plates on depending on how much front downforce I need for that specific track. Over the front wheels, I have both vents, and behind them I have ducts. There's 2 different sets of vents on the hood. There is a cowl cover that stretches from the hood all the way back to the windshield. Both side mirrors are smaller than the factory pieces, which is surprisingly a big deal because your side mirrors are a significant source of drag on a modern vehicle. I've got the skirts going along the side of the car, which keep high pressure air from going down to the low pressure air underneath the car and then causing lift and drag. In front of both the wheels, I have small protrusions coming down off of the spats that help direct air around the wheels and keep it under the car. Almost the entire bottom of the car, except for right next to each of the exhaust pipes, is flat using coroplast. It connects directly to the front splitter, which goes all the way to the front axle line and then all the way back to the rear axle line where the rear diffuser starts. The rear wheel arches are vented even more than the front wheel arches just to get as much air out of there as possible. The rear fascia has been cut to reduce any parachuting. I may also eventually do some of those speed holes in it, further prevent parachuting, but because all the air should be trapped under the car with the flat bottom and the diffuser, it shouldn't be that big an issue for my car. Instead of a wing, I'm running a NASCAR style spoiler, which combined with the diffuser should still generate a significant amount of downforce while also not causing nearly as much drag as a wing. If you go through looking at all those parts, the only parts on the car that are actually there to generate downforce are the splitter, the diffuser, and the spoiler. Both the splitter and the spoiler are very efficient aerodynamic pieces compared to something like a wing or front dive planes. They generate a good amount of downforce with not that much of a drag penalty. The diffuser actually has no drag penalty and increases downforce. Every other part on the car is there to either reduce lift, reduce drag, or both. So the venting in the hood, the venting in the fenders, the side skirts, the flat bottom, the smaller mirrors are all there to reduce drag and reduce lift. So here's a closer shot of the splitter. It's made out of aluminite, which is coroplast sandwiched between 2 thin pieces of aluminum. It's worked extremely well. It's very resilient. It doesn't shatter like fiberglass or carbon fiber would. If there's any sort of impact, I can just sort of bend it back into place. As you can see, the front of the car is very smooth. I don't have any sort of dive planes or anything that's intrusive or causing a lot of drag. I just want as efficient a front end as I possibly can. Eventually, as I dive further into increasing the coolant efficiency, I might make that front opening a little smaller. That's another significant source of drag. If I can decrease that opening size while maintaining my current cooling capacity, I definitely will do that. You can see the side spats over in front of the front wheel. That just keeps all of the air either going over or around the car. I don't want it hitting the front tire. That can be a big source of drag. Right now the end plate is on the low drag setup, but I've got larger end plates if it's a slower speed track where I do want the extra downforce for some tighter turns. The inlet to the radiator, as I mentioned in the cooling video, is all funneled in with some paneling so I don't have any excess air moving around in there causing more drag. I'm getting all the air through the radiator and then back out those vents as efficiently as possible. I'm even working on a duct now to take that air directly out the vent and not letting it sit in the engine bay at all. Moving a little further back, you can see those hood vents. Front vents can be directly connected to the duct from the radiator. You also have the rear vent, which is more going to be for whatever air is left in the engine bay to escape. You can see the cowl cover that directly connects the hood to the windscreen, so there's no gap there for air to drop down into. And you can also see the aero latches, which are perfectly flush to the surface of the car. Over the wheel arch, you can see the louvers in the vent that are there for reducing lift and reducing drag. What you can't see is right at the wheel center line is where the front splitter ends. So it's connected to the car in 8 different places, which helps it to securely apply all of the forces that are acting on it to the car's chassis. What you're trying to create is a low pressure area underneath the car and a high pressure area on top of the car, so that the net difference in pressure will push the car to the ground. With the splitter, by pushing more air over top of the car and not letting a lot of air underneath the car, you're helping to create that low pressure zone. Is sucking the splitter to the ground, and the air sitting on top of it is also pushing it to the ground. The air that is coming out of the hood vent and everything coming out of the wheel arch is reducing lift while also reducing drag, because that air can go around the car now instead of pushing against the firewall or the back of the wheel well. The way the cowl cover works is normally there's a gap there, but the air will curl under and cause a significant amount of lift and drag because that air is changing direction and pulling back on the car. When Sasha Anise put his 350Z in a wind tunnel, he found that by covering that area up, he gained a significant amount of front downforce by reducing that lift. Here's a closer shot of that smaller mirror. It's approximately 50% of the size of the factory mirror, but still being very sculpted to allow air to flow around it smoothly. This is a good shot of the back of the wheel arch. You can see just how big that vent is and how much air it's going to allow to escape. And you also see the louvers going across the top there. Here's another good shot of the hood vents, the cowl cover, and the aero latches. The back of the car, you can see just how much material was removed to allow air to escape out of the rear wheel well. Below that, you can see the diffuser. The way diffusers work, to put it as simply as possible, you have X amount of air coming in at the left towards the front of the car, and as the space expands, because that air is expanding, it has to drop in pressure because there's the same amount of air over a larger area. That decrease in pressure is what sucks the back of the car to the ground. It's mounted to the car in 5 places, directly to the rear crash bar and to the rear subframe, so it is pulling directly down on the back of the car. One of the keys to the diffuser working though is that the bottom of the car is almost 100% flat. If you do not have a flat bottom car, it is not really going to be that effective having a diffuser at the back. The way the spoiler is working, and I'm trapping a layer of air in front of that spoiler that sits on the back of the car, it is deflecting the entire flow stream over the car. Instead of coming directly off the bumper, it is now raised up slightly, but it is a lot more efficient than a wing, and it's also a lot cheaper than a wing because I made it myself. So I get a lot of people asking why I'm not running a wing. Well, it's because I have a diffuser and I have a spoiler, and working together they probably generate just as much downforce as like a GT250 wing would, while carrying a lot lower drag penalty. Here's a shot of the panels that are in front of each of the wheels. By having this come down into the airflow that's under the car, I'm trying to get as much airflow to go out the back of the car instead of just running into the wheel. I have it on the front and rear wheel arches. Here's a shot of a diffuser. You can see that it's only about 3 inches off the ground at the start and works its way up to about 8 inches off the ground at the rear. The strakes are there to help keep any air that is outside the diffuser from coming in and disturbing the flow. It's a little bit difficult to see, but you can get an idea of the flat bottom on the car. It's white chloroplast, which covers almost the entire bottom. Here's another shot. You can see where the exhaust is sticking out, so there is still a little bit of an opening just because I can't move the exhaust right now, but I would say about 90% of the bottom of the car is covered. For the future of the aero of the car, the biggest thing I want to change is I want the chloroplast to be replaced with Alumilite. I want a perfectly flat bottom, 100%, no openings, no intrusions, nothing in the way of the air going from the splitter all the way to the diffuser. So that way the side skirt sticking out will be part of a giant piece of Alumilite on the bottom of the car. It'll probably be 4 main panels: the splitter, the left side underbody, the right side underbody, and then the panel that is right in front of the diffuser that goes in between the 2 rear wheels. I'd like the diffuser to be slightly different. I want to cover up those openings on the left and right hand side to keep all of the air from the rear wheels away from the diffuser. I don't want to mess that flow up at all. For the venting and the ducting on the front arches, I want to open that up just a little bit more. I want the louvers to be a tiny bit bigger. Instead of having the wheel arch continue all the way around and then the duct being on the inside of that, I'm just going to have an open duct similar to the rear wheel arch. As I mentioned, I'm working on the duct from the radiator to the hood vent. That'll make that more efficient. I want a smaller front opening to reduce the amount of air that's having to go through the radiator, but make that airflow more efficient to keep my cooling capacity up. I'd like to make the mirrors a little bit more efficient, maybe do some molding and do a cover for them that's a little bit more efficient than the shape they are now. And I'll probably eventually run a bigger spoiler. I may go to a wing. I want to do some CFD modeling just to see how much downforce I have at the front and the rear. There are some ways to measure that. If you can get the car on a long straight and you can accelerate slowly, see how much of a suspension compresses as your speed raises. But I want to see how much downforce am I generating on the front of the car and the rear of the car, and I want to make sure that's balanced. So if I have to run a rear wing, I will. If I've got a perfect balance kind of as is, then I don't have to do anything. But I want to increase the efficiency of the car. I'm not overly concerned about increasing the downforce. I just want to reduce drag and increase efficiency. As I said in the beginning, I realized that none of this has been tested. None of this has actual quantifiable data behind it, but I'm working on that. Eventually, I'm going to get the car scanned in. I'm going to get it in the computer and see what's working, what's not, what I can improve, and what kind of numbers my current setup is actually generating. But everything that I've done is based on looking at who's fast at NASA time trials, who's fast at SCCA events, what are the people who have the money and the time and the talent to do all of this properly, what are they doing, and I am trying to learn from them. But I can tell you from driving the car that when it was set up before, when it was more stock, at the end of the back straight at Road Atlanta, I could feel the car getting light. It was very unsettling. I could feel the fact that I was losing control of the car as it went faster. Whereas now at the end of the main straight at Roebling and I'm going 135 miles an hour, I can feel it settle down. I can feel it get more controlled. And it's a really comforting feeling to know that the faster I'm going, the more stable the car gets. So whatever I have done, it seems to be working because the car is definitely faster. It's definitely easier to drive. It's definitely more confidence inspiring. So you have any comments, drop them below. I'm sure there's going to be some wonderful comments for this one. Hit that subscribe button and I will see you guys next week.